This question refers to everybody's absolute favourite topic when it comes to National 5. Surds. We all know how much we love it. We all know how great it is. This is the kind of question we're going to get. So we've got root 2 over root 40, and the question is asking us to express this as a fraction with our rational denominator. And then it puts on the extra bit here of being in its simplest form. Now, if you ever get that, you know something's going to be able to cancel later on, so you have to keep your eyes out for it. Now, rationalising the denominator means getting rid of the square root that is on the bottom, so we have to think how we talked about that in class and the different ways to do it. And the easiest way to do it is to multiply the top and the bottom by the surd that is on the bottom. So to start to rationalise this denominator, I'd take root 2 over root 40 and I'd multiply both the top and the bottom by root 40. What that then does is it changes the top into root 2 root 40 and the bottom root 40 times root 40, so root 40 squared simply gives me 40. So I've got that there, I've rationalised it, great. Now I have to think about how I put it into its simplest form. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top and I'm going to first combine it into one single square root. So I've got root 2 times root 40, that gives me root 80 over 40. Now I have to simplify the root 80. Now the easiest way to do this that we discussed in class is to think of a square factor of the number that's in there. But not just any square factor, think of the biggest. Try and get the biggest to start with. Now this is where I was talking about you have to know your square numbers from 1 to 15 squared so that you can rattle them off the top of your head. Now looking at that, you could easily say 4. So if I do 4 into 80, I get 20. Great, so 4 is a square number, it's a factor of 80. But I could then look at it a bit more and say, well, I could go a bit higher because 16 is a factor of 80 and 16 is a square number. So I could rewrite the root 80 as root 16 times, well, 16 times 5 gives me the 80 times root 5. And that's all over 40. Root 16 is 4, so that's 4 root 5 over 40. And from that I can cancel out 4 from the top and the bottom as a factor. And I get root 5 over 10. So that would be my final answer for this. Now, I mentioned before about root 4 as a factor on the top. If you don't get this in its first go, but you continue on and get to the final answer of root 5 over 10, you're still going to get the marks. So for example, if I take the root 80 over 40 and I do what I first noticed and say, right, so that gives me root 4 times root 20 over 40, and I simplify it and I get 2 root 20 over 40, and I say, right, so I've got a 2 on the top and a 40 on the bottom. I can factorise 2 out as a factor of both of those. What that then gives me is root 20 over 20. Then say to myself, right, is that as far as I can go? Well, no, because I know that 20 is 4 times 5, and 4 is yet again another square number. So I could say, fine, so that then equals square root of 4 times the square root of 5 over 20. Root 4 times root 5 can then be simplified even more. So root 4 is 2, so that then gives me 2 root 5 over 20, and again I can cancel 2 from the top, 2 from the bottom, and I get root 5 over 10. So lo and behold, I've still got the same answer. Yes, it's taken me 2 steps, but I've still got there. If you don't notice the highest square factor to begin with, but you continue on and get to the same answer that's needed at the end, you will still get all the marks. The only difference is you'll just give yourself a couple of extra steps of working, and you'll just have to do a bit more work for the question. Learn your square numbers from 1 to 15. It's vital that you know these because then you can try and spot the highest square factor as quickly as possible and in one go.